Jordan, would you start us off with a roll call, please?
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne,
Present.
Boberg, Liebelt,
Present.
Reif,
Present.
Johnson,
Present.
Reinbold,
Present.
Langer,
Present.
Norbstrup,
Present.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. First order of business will be to approve this week's agenda as printed. I take a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion, Councilman Reinbold, second, Councilman Norvstrup. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. Next item will be to approve the minutes for our previous two meetings, one which took place a special session on October 10th, last Tuesday, and then the prior Monday, which was October 2nd, a regular city council meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of those two meetings, please?
Move to approve those two meetings on the 2nd and the 10th of October.
I'll second.
I've got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Johnson. Does anyone have any input on those before we take our vote? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion carries. When I came in, no one was signed up to speak at open forum, so I will move along to consent calendar where we've got 5 items of routine city business, including setting surplus lottery notice, a couple of licenses, a financial officer's certification of special tax assessments for this current year, and a 2024 retail liquor, package liquor, and retail wine license for various businesses under renewal.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Reif and a second from Councilman Reinbold. Anything from the council on any of these items? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. One item of old business to vote on here tonight. The item is the possible second reading and final adoption of an ordinance which is titled 230902. It rezones property described as lot 466 and 467 in the Morning Heights subdivision from C3R3 to R3. Voted unanimously last meeting. Eric, anything new on that one?
No changes.
Move to approve it.
Second, to approve it.
Motion from Councilman Johnson, second from Councilwoman Liebelt. Any last words from anyone in the council before we take a vote? Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norbstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Aye, motion carries. Moving along to new business, we will start with a 2022 audit presentation. Jordan, why don't you kick us off with that, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier this fall, we distributed copies of our 2022 financial audit. We received the financial audit from Eide Bailly right around the 27th of September and dispersed it at that time. This evening, we were joined by partner from Eide Bailly, Cameron Zent. He oversees our audit. He's been with us for several years, and I'll let him take over from here.
Welcome, Cameron. Make sure the little green light is on that microphone, if you'd be so kind.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Council. I'm glad to be here tonight. We'll go through the 2022 audit and the slides here presented. High overview of the audit for 2022, and we can discuss some of the findings and results. So we'll jump right into it. Similar to last year and prior years, clean, unmodified opinion issued on the financial statements.
Cameron, are you intending to have this?
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go.
Oh,
There we go.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was assuming that was going to go. So anyone jump in at any time. Just kind of cut me off. If you have a question, we'll just kind of go about it like that. That's more than fine with me. Kind Okay, so now that everybody has the slides, the very first bullet, we did issue a clean, unmodified opinion on the financial statements. Basically, the financial statements we issued, based on our testing, do not contain any materially misstatements. They're fairly presented in accordance with GAAP. Also, our federal program testing, this is commonly known as the single audit, and our testing of federal expenditures. We tested the AIP, Airport Improvement Program, again this year. Typically tends to be one of the larger ones the city has. And as well on that program, issued an unmodified opinion, meaning that city complied in all material respects with operations and expenditures under that program. From a financial statement perspective, the findings we have this year that we issued are internal control findings, auditor assistance in preparation of the financial statements, and the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. We issued a similar finding, actually the same finding last year, as we're annually involved in preparing the financials and the notes, as well as making some changes and corrections to the CFA, some of which involved with our testing of the actual program itself. The second one there, audit adjustments, past audit adjustments. As part of doing our audit procedures, at times we identify certain misstatements that, in order to issue financial statements materially correct, we propose audit adjustments. At times also we do identify misstatements that are not material, but are more than trivial. So they're kind of in this middle ground that management has leeway to elect to not post or correct. And the financial statements are still materially fairly stated. There's oftentimes reasons for that. Sometimes it comes to accruals, and it would be an expenditure next period rather than this period. So from an administrative standpoint, sometimes it's just easier not to make a correction. There were a couple of those. Those are, since they're more than trivial, we do indicate those and disclose those as past adjustments. The third bullet point, we kind of expanded on a little bit from last year in terms of findings, but we did have this similar finding last year. It was just kind of combined into other ones, but decided to separate it on its own this year. Lack of review of account reconciliations. That was one where, with various transition in the accounting department taking place, new individuals in new roles, a learning curve for everybody, there was noted a identified lack of a review process in certain areas and accounts, and resulted in identified or helped contribute to identified misstatements and audit adjustments. The fourth bullet point here is the pooled cash reconciliation. Kind of relates to the third bullet, but as it relates to cash, in my opinion, I wanted to set this one out as a separate identified finding. Basically, this one, there was a period of time throughout the year where the pooled cash of the city was not fully reconciled. As part of our audit, it ended up causing a little bit of delay as management was looking into reasons for those differences. And just because of the overall importance of cash to any entity, decided it was probably warranted to indicate this as a separate finding, so that hopefully that process can get remediated and corrected and on a go-forward basis. And then finally, capital assets. As I'm sure all of you guys are well aware, the city has a lot of capital asset activity. And capital assets, similar to account reconciliations, we ran into a need for a good amount of adjustments for misstatements in this area. And overall processes to gather and account for capital asset activity were not adequate to identify all the correct needed adjustments. And so we made a number of corrections in that area, and in our opinion warranted a separate finding to point that out. On the uniform guidance or the single audit side, this is the federal program side. No findings reported there. All of our testing was clean and yielded no findings. Kind of look at moving forward.
Cameron, if you don't mind, maybe this would be a good time to dig into a couple of those bullets. Not to
absolutely. We sure can.
Track, but you and I had the conversation a little bit about the some of the ongoing concerns when it related to the, I guess, as you were were you completing the audit at that point or in the process of auditing?
We were done with our primary field work. We were wrapping up loose ends at that time. Might have been around the June-ish, July-ish timeframe, potentially.
That sounds right. And it looked like the pooled cash reconciliation had left a pretty substantial cash discrepancy at that point, but Jordan made mention that that's been accounted for at this stage.
Yeah, so at the time, there was a net difference, if I remember correctly, of like $60-some thousand.
That sounds right.
And actually, subsequent to that, roughly early September, when we were clearing some other pending comments in the file, I believe the audit team identified about 30,000 of that number relating to a receipt from the state that went into the bank account that was not recorded in the general ledger. So that made up roughly half of that difference. So really, technically, at the end of the day, there was a net adjustment of about $30,000 roughly that was posted to get the bank reconciliation to reconcile with the general ledger. It was an increase of cash at the end of the day, which is better than going the other direction. With that being said, the fact that management couldn't identify the full difference in and of itself is of concern. And so thus another reason why we've identified that as its own finding. The $30,000 was not material to the general fund. So therefore in itself of itself, not a material financial statement misstatement. But at the end of the day, the control process was not operating or designed effectively to timely identify and correct for that difference.
And it sounds like that was kind of an extrapolation of that previous bullet, which was lack of review of account reconciliations. Jordan, we've spent some time with that then in order to rectify that for this current fiscal year.
That's correct. There were significant staffing changes during the course of the year, which led to a lack of oversight simply due to me performing all of the duties for a period of time. So.
And then finally, Cameron, that capital assets issue, is that going to kind of be a one-time issue with a one-time rectification?
Quite potentially. It all depends on, we by no means when we come into an audit expect everything to be perfect and no adjustments. It gets into a matter of professional judgment at what point do we have a reportable finding where controls that are in place aren't adequate, and we feel like from a professional judgment standpoint that there is it's reasonably possible that the financial statements could end up materially misstated. So say next year, procedures, changes are implemented, very much so I could see that going away. It all kind of depends on the results of our testing and what it kind of yields.
Sure. And I was just thinking in terms of our capital assets aren't turning over as fast as
No, it has nothing. It's just the accounting and recording of it. When you acquire new ones, what cost goes in? Is it valued correctly? Are the capital assets complete? Meaning, do we have everything recorded that was purchased? Is it all accounted for as a capital asset, or did it get missed and it's expensed and it's not reflected on the financial statements within the city's capital assets? And then recording of disposals, are they recorded correctly? Gains on disposal recorded correctly? Depreciation, is depreciation calculated correctly? That's what it relates to.
And when you had completed that audit, then you had spent some time with our team to kind of clarify those particular points.
Yes, throughout the process, back and forth, we met several times in person with our staff, myself, the staff working on it, Jordan, staff here at the city, trying to train and at the same time trying to get adjustments correct, and then also to help and assist going forward. As we know, as we were well aware of the transition, and the only way to remediate the finding is part of it's through training and understanding.
Thank you, Cameron. I appreciate your clarification on those points. Feel free to move forward.
So fiscal year results, just some slides on some of the major funds or major components of the city. Cash and investments increased overall compared to 2021. This grid or this chart here splits the governmental funds separate from the business type funds. Business type cash and investments increased about 10% over last year. And then governmental assets, cash and investments about 7%, $46.7 million total cash and investments compared to 43.2 last year. The cash and investments of that 46.7, 8.1 million is in investments, and then 38.6 million is cash on hand. Looking at the general fund specifically, from the revenue side of things, as always, most of the revenue comes from tax-related sources, $21.4 million of tax revenue, a little bit of an increase over last year. Charges for goods and services, like garbage, is in this. Ambulance fees would be in here as well, $2.6 million, pretty on par or similar to last year. And then intergovernmental revenues, these come from state and federal sources, a little bit down from last year, about 2.3 million. Overall, total general fund revenues just shy of $28 million, or about 2% increase over a year ago. The expenditures side of the general fund, you can see a kind of a general climbing trend here in expenditures. Most of those expenditures are in your public safety department, followed up by public works. So about $12 million of public safety expense, $6 million relating to public works. General government, this would be your financial administration type of expenditures, $3.5 million there, and another almost 1.3 in culture and recreation related expenditures. Overall, expenditures increased about 10% year over year. Fund balance, this is the government term for equity. Equity increased a little bit over last year, roughly about $1 million of an increase. And a slide missing in there for whatever reason, but I'll adapt. Okay. That equity, $16.3 million of equity in the general fund, 9.4 of it is unassigned. This is unrestricted, in other words. There's no ties to it. The next biggest portion is committed. That's about $5.7 million. That committed fund balance relates back a couple of years ago to COVID-related commitments. This is that CRF money that had the council a couple of years back passed formal commitments to use fund balance for some specific purposes. So that continues to get tracked to be used for those purposes until the council would remove that commitment at a future time. Non-spendable inventory is kind of the last bit that's related to inventory and like prepaid assets, certain assets that you can't spend them by nature. It's not really cash. Special sales tax fund, this is another biggie to the city. And really, special sales tax fund, as you all know, driven by the taxes. And so really total revenue is pretty similar to last year. Just about a $300,000 increase in total tax, about 3%. The expenditures, most of the expenditures in special sales tax, public works related, $7.8 million of public works related expenditures this year, $5 million or so last year. That'll kind of ebb and flow depending on expenditure projects, capital projects in nature. So 46% increase year over year, special sales tax fund. Our equity or fund balance in the special sales tax fund decrease or a decline over last year. Really that decrease that's expenditures, as we saw on the last side, increased expenditures over last year, but also the special sales tax fund annually also transfers out a lot of cash to other funds. Those transfers out were about $4.3 million from last year. So that's another reason for that decrease in that fund balance and special sales tax fund. Proprietary funds, just kind of to highlight a couple things here in the water and sewer fund. This grid here just shows you kind of a line graph of where operating revenues are going, correspondingly operating expenses, and then that bottom there in the blue, that's the overall operating income. So you can see operating expenses have been largely kind of on par the last 3 years. If you average them out, pretty similar year to year. However, the operating expenses of the water fund have gradually kind of an increasing trend. So all that trickles down to the lowest operating income the water fund has had in the last couple of years. Sewer fund kind of tells the same story as the water fund. Pretty level revenues, expenses increasing, overall operating income slight decline. Now both funds, that being said, both have positive, what I like just to call net income, change in net position. So both healthy from that standpoint, though. Overall, any questions from anyone on the council? Anything I can try to answer?
Do you audit any other cities?
Quite a few, yes.
And are these findings that we talked about at the beginning, are those common?
The financial statement preparation, it's not uncommon to have audit adjustments. I would say it is uncommon to have a large volume of them. Financial statement preparation is one to, if just talking about all of our clients in general, one that's pretty common that we issue. Basically, if the client doesn't write their whole financial statements and all the footnotes themselves, it's kind of by default a finding. The findings for the reconciliation controls, capital assets, cash, I would say those are unusual, not common. Those are all things that can be easily fixed in my mind. That's not difficult to do, but yeah, those are ones that we'd want to get rid of and not report in the future. And like I said, easy fixes in my mind.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from anyone on the council? Ms. Cameron? Well, Cameron, I appreciate you bringing this to us and running us through this. Is that doc something that will be able to be made available?
The PowerPoint you're referring
Yeah.
to, or yeah, I can definitely provide that. I can get that over to the finance office. Absolutely.
Sounds great. Appreciate that. If there's nothing else, we appreciate your time and joining us here tonight. We will move along to our next item of new business, which is a public hearing and possible approval of a special one-day retail on-sale liquor license, which will take place on November 3rd. It's for the Arts Council at their Kelly Hunt Acoustic Quartet, which is located at the Arc Library, 203 South Washington, and this will be also serve as a community event permit for that same event. No one here to speak on behalf of that, so someone from the council will have to pipe up and
Move to approve.
Second.
got a motion from Councilman Reinbold, second from Councilwoman Liebelt. Does anyone on the council have anything to contribute as it relates to this on-sale liquor license or event permit? All right, then, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll move right along to our possible approval of a resolution titled 23-1001R, which establishes a consolidated board of equalization pursuant to the SDCL and designate a member and alternate member of the city council to serve on that board of equalization from April through May of 2024.
Move to approve.
Well,
Second.
okay, so we've got a motion to approve from Councilman Ronayne, second from Councilman Reinbold. That is a standard action that we take each year. And then I was the serving member, and then we appoint designee. If
I think the designee was the deputy mayor, wasn't it?
I'm not sure, 'cause I was the
Yeah, I was the alternate, and the mayor took the heavy load on this, and I attended one 5-minute meeting, and it was good.
Okay. Sometimes those get kind of fun, to be honest with you. So, I guess in that instance, it will be myself and then Deputy Mayor Johnson will serve in my absence if it comes to be, but I do like to attend those meetings. So, if it push comes to shove. We've got our motion, we've got our second. Anything from the council before we take a vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we've got a possible approval of a purchase of a land parcel from 3M for the northeast water tower. Robin, would you walk us through what that purchase entails?
Probably about a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago, we started talking about the potential site for a water tower, and the area that was identified as the best by the FAA was this piece up by 3M. It happens to be an area that will serve us very well as far as equalizing water pressures out in that industrial park area and some parts of the eastern side of the community. And we've been going back and forth with 3M. It sometimes was maybe not as high a priority for them as it was for us, but they have now put together an agreement, and they're working things through with the city attorney to try to make sure that we have all the appropriate things in place to be able to make this project move forward.
Robin, how did the purchase price come to be?
We just took a look at what we thought the going rates at that time would be for this parcel. To be honest, we did not do any kind of appraisal or anything. It was something we thought was a fair price that was sent their way.
So we initiated the
Yes.
purchase price.
We did.
Okay. Anyone on the council like to make a motion to make this purchase?
I have a question. What was the purchase price?
75,000.
Okay. Thank you.
So
Move to approve.
Well, I think Councilman Norvstrup moved to approve. Would you care to second, Councilwoman Liebel?
I would be happy to second that.
All right, so we've got a motion, Norvstrup, second, Liebel. Does anyone on the council have any other questions as it relates to this parcel of land or this water tower project? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer, Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry.
I did think of a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it possible to get, if 3M wants to put their logo on it, can we get some of this money back?
Yeah.
Good thinking.
We'll work on that marketing aspect for you.
There's also some advertising space in that north one now that PC is not functional.
Just like not hiring.
Possible approval of a payment number 5 for $205,108 and a change order totaling $115,203 to Dami Construction for the South Roosevelt Street sanitary sewer improvements. Stu Nelson, what have you got for us here tonight?
So you may recall this project started last year in kind of midsummer, late summer, and it came about directly because we had several collapses on this line. You may remember the disappearing light pole from last year. And so this is probably the second to the last pay request on this project. I believe that the last remaining item that needs to be done is the seeding and restoration work, and that's been completed now, so I would anticipate one more small pay request. This pay request just reflects kind of bid items that were additional, once we got into the project and realized that the scope of the project was probably a lot bigger than what we had originally anticipated. The trench became a lot wider, just the amount of repairs that we had to do, and well, for instance, like the inlets, stormwater inlets, we weren't anticipating having to remove those and reset those, and we ended up having to do that. So it was, work of that nature that's included on this on this pay request.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Rife, a second from Councilman Norvstrup. Any questions from the council for Stu Nelson? All right. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Thanks for joining us, Stu. As always, next we've got a possible approval of a change order 1B in the amount of a negative $2,077. I'm not sure if that's correct. Rich will tell us here in a moment. To Ephraimson Electric for the runway 1331 rehab and lighting improvements, bid schedule B.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. That is correct. We did a change order based on materials that we thought we were going to use against materials that actually did get used. So there's a $2,077 reduction in that bid schedule.
Move to approve this reduction in change order. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson, second from Councilman Reinbold. Any questions? All right then. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got the possible approval of payments for work on the airport improvement projects and to authorize the city manager to sign those pay requests. We've got one to Sharp Enterprises, $697,483. Helms and Associates for $33,751. We've got one for Ephraimson for $256,141. We all thought we were in good shape with those guys with that last one, but there's the big one. Then we've got another for Helms for $41,981. One for Reedy, $111,840. And finally, another for Reedy, $144,687. And to make sense of all that, we've got Transportation Director Rich Kroepel. Rich?
Yep, thank you again. So line item 1, payment 5 is for work completed to date by Sharp on the GA apron project. And line 2, that is resident engineering and administration services from Helms and Associates. Line 3, payment 3B, is payment for work to date by Ephraimson Electric on bid schedule B for the runway project. Line item 4, payment number 7, is again admin and resident engineering services for out on that project. Line item 5, payment number 4A, is so this one is going to be BIL money, and number 6, payment 4A, is AIP money. This was that project. It's got the 2 different project numbers. One was for BIL. We had to separate out units of work for each of the 2 contracts, just to make it more confusing. So we're asking city manager be allowed to sign all these pay requests, and we're just about there.
Move for approval of all 6 payments. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman Reinbold to approve these payments. Does anyone from the council have any questions for Transportation Director Rich? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Mr. Krokel. Next, we've got a review and approval of this week's bills, October 16th, in the list that was included in your packets. I'd take a motion to pay the bills.
Move to pay the
Moved.
bills.
Second.
Motion, Councilman Reif, second, Councilman Norvstrup. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Reinbold,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reif,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Will abstain to the payment to climate control, otherwise aye for the rest, and the motion does carry, and we'll kick it right over to Robin Bobzien for our city manager's report. Robin, what have you got for us this evening?
As you should have noted, in the consent calendar, we do have the city auction coming up on Thursday this week at 3 p.m. Jordan has set this up and gotten things moving so we can get rid of some surplus equipment and materials that we really need to make some space. So it'll be good to have that out of the way this fall yet. Secondly, I do want it noted that I stayed in my lane today and I didn't break in on Stu's stuff. That's been a very hard thing for me to do, to stay out of Stu's way and let him do his job. So I was very proud of myself tonight. So and thirdly, you know that our staff, along with a ton of people from the community today, helped put up the dome at PC, or started helping put up. We anticipate that will be up and functioning tomorrow sometime. Just a big thanks going out to everybody, including our staff. There was a lot of folks that were on our staff. And like I said, there was a lot of people from the community doing this. You can anticipate having something in the forms of agreements, leases, things of that nature coming to you in the near future, so we can start kind of lining up all the details that need to happen as part of that. That's all I got.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you, Councilman Reinbold, who spent a majority of his day out there.
Beautiful day.
Lugging away. Yeah, good work out there. Justin, appreciate that extra effort over there. And if anybody else I missed in this room, I apologize. I just happened to see him a fair amount over there.
Tiffany was there, I think.
Tiffany.
I just looked. I didn't work very hard.
Well, we did notice the hockey guys showed up, so appreciate that. Yeah, and Jordan, nice work on that auction. Glad to keep it local this time. That's always a good thing whenever it is possible. I know that it was something that the community was excited about after that last one that caused a little bit of consternation. So I'd take a motion to adjourn this meeting if no one has anything else.
Move to adjourn. Second.
Motion Reinbold, second Johnson. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. Motion does carry. We are adjourned. I tell